Okay, welcome. Here for another week of talking about triggers, families, boundaries, whatever you all want to talk about. So I'd love to answer questions once people come in. And for now, um, I think that I'd like to start with mm, the way that this journey gets you to the best version of yourself. And it is a journey. It's about progress. It is slower than we want it to be. So, a spiritual awakening journey, which encompasses everything from the beginning stages of starting to uncover some of your traumas to through to like the dark night of the soul, and then moving into the actual peaceful version of yourself that you want to be. That journey is going to be a journey of years. And so, in that journey, part of it being that it doesn't go as fast as we want it. And within the journey, we experience a sort of resistance to the length of the process. That is part of the process. That is part of the point. Because throughout the years and years of healing that we do, we get to a place where we're like, but wasn't it supposed to feel better? Like, when do I actually feel better? And the answer is that at every moment, you get to decide whether you keep going and whether you continue to strive to feel better, whether you continue to choose feeling better. Because in the journey, what we also learn is that it's all a choice, and that the things that we thought controlled us on the outside actually don't. But one of the most important things that we learn is how to support ourselves through every experience. So even that experience of, wasn't I supposed to feel better by now? Wasn't the whole point of going to therapy or getting coaching, like, wasn't the whole point of doing this feeling better, not worse? And for a lot of the period of time during healing, you feel worse. And you feel like, I wish I just didn't start this in the first place, because I was like pretty happy before, I was kind of naive. I was kind of maybe um sheltered from some of the truths of my life, but I was happier. I felt better. I felt better being, with my head under in the sand. Um, and part of it is acknowledging, yeah, that is a part of your truth at that moment, because healing doesn't feel good. Hmm. And I think tonight, one of the things I'll do is the feeling of feelings practice, which I think is the most foundational thing that you can learn to support yourself through the experience of learning and growing and feeling the very wide spectrum of emotions that we as humans feel, that we don't know what to do with. Nobody taught us what to do with those things. Um, so that's one of the things that we'll talk about tonight. Hi, Lizzie. Thank you for being here. Let's see. I will not take a call in the AM. I don't want to start my day with negative people. Wonderful. I love that. I think that saying I will not take a call in the AM is absolutely perfect. I would also encourage you to just leave that second sentence out because the reason I say that is because when you're labeling somebody negative, um, it gives that person some sort of power over you, or gives you the feeling that they have power over you to create negativity in your life. And you might be in the place where that is true for you, that can happen, that you do feel like they bring you down. Um, and that's maybe something that tonight we can touch on too, in terms of being able to support yourself through experiences with people that you feel like are not super supportive for your journey. But I love your boundary. I will not take a call in the AM. That's perfect because you know what it does? It makes a promise to yourself. You're promising yourself that you won't take a call in the AM. You're not telling everybody in your life, hey, don't call me in the morning. Uh, but you're saying, I will not take a call in the AM. So that's all about what you're going to do and what you can control. Um, and nobody has power over you actually doing that except you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, you're a Virgo. Yes, and Virgos historically do have kind of perfectionistic issues or control issues. I love the Virgo energy for many reasons, and that is a good thing to watch. And honestly, I think what you've just said is the complete opposite. You know, like what you've said is I don't take calls in the AM. That's beautiful. That's actually the opposite of trying to control anything. That's just stating what you're going to do, regardless of what anybody else does. So thanks for sharing that. Let me know if you guys have questions. I'm here to answer questions too. If you have issues with family, with relationships. Um, Relationships are one of the best tools for us to learn spiritual lessons, for us to grow into the version of ourselves that we want to grow into. And I suppose this is a good kind of segue, you know, when we talk about labeling things or people outside of us, right? When we talk about labeling somebody as negative or even like toxic or this person's a narcissist, if you find yourself putting those labels on people in your life, there's a good chance that you have some hard feelings to feel towards those people. Um, Maybe some anger or resentment or hurt or disappointment, things like that that need to be felt in order for you to move past the label. Because what the label really means is that you have unresolved feelings. Because if you had gone ahead and healed those feelings and experiences, if you've actually felt those feelings, then you wouldn't need to use the label. There'd be no reason to use the label because there'd be no reason to sort of elevate yourself in relation to that person, because that's really what you're doing, right? When we use those types of terms, we're actually elevating ourselves, like they're negative, I'm not, or they're toxic, I'm not, or that type of thing. So you're kind of like, well, I'm not going to do the same things that they do. I'm not going to be in that energy. So I'm going to choose something different. So but really it's really just kind of looking at some of those unresolved feelings. And then I will say, you know, in certain circumstances it is really important to have a tool for protecting your energy around people that you do feel like have a stronger perhaps influence on your energy. See, because we do like until we learn the until we learn the practice of protecting our energy and making it a regular practice, um, we do leech our energy away. We do allow our energy to seep out and allow other people's energies to seep in. So imagine you have like this orb around you that is your energy, kind of like 6 feet in every direction. That's like your energy field. And we do have the ability to protect that energy field. And by the way, this protection that I talk about, it's important in the beginning of your journey. It's not super important as you get further into your journey because really there's nothing to protect yourself from. But because it's almost like you can think about it like energy wise in terms of like it's more about learning how to like manage energy. It's like a tool. It's like you're learning how to navigate it, to manage your energy. And so when you're like a toddler, it's almost like when you're learning to walk, like as a whereas a baby or child is learning to walk, you put up baby gates because they don't know yet, you know, to not they don't know how to use the stairs yet, right? So as we go along in our journeys, we need those certain protections in the beginning to protect us from just from from falling down the stairs, you know, from like leaching our energy out into the world, which by the way, leaching our energy means being an empath. I don't love using those terms either, but like a lot of people use those terms, and being an empath actually means that you're leaching energy. You're giving way too much energy out to the world and you're not actually protecting your energy. So a lot of times people think like empath is a really positive term. It really just means like yes, you're very sensitive, and that's probably always going to be the case, but being sensitive and leaching your energy out to the world is not the same thing. So we do need to learn how to navigate that energy field. And then as you get further, like as a child grows up, they don't obviously need the gates anymore because they know about the stairs. So it's the same type of thing as you get further into your journey. You don't need the energy protections always because there's really nothing to protect yourself from when you're a little bit more experienced. Thank you for the likes, my dears. Please do like and share the live. Oh, thank you, Michigan Rock. Oh my gosh, that means so much to me. Thank you so much. Um, Okay. But Michigan Rock. Okay, I see that you said I refuse to accept disrespect. That is not a boundary. So boundaries are really specific. And so really I want you to think about one specific person and phrase it like this. Um, when this happens, this is what I do. When this happens, I do X. So what's the behavior? Like you have to name what is the disrespectful behavior? Okay, what's the behavior that you label disrespectful, and then say what you're going to do in order to not engage with that behavior. See, because what you've just stated is like it's not exactly a rule, but I guess it's more like there's like this energy of like there's like this energy of, again, and I said this a little while ago, of putting yourself on a pedestal, like kind of putting yourself up here, like I'm up here, so I'm not going to tolerate like that kind of behavior that's down there. But we're not really trying to do that. Again, if you're saying stuff like that, then there's probably somebody specific you're thinking of, or a few people that you're specifically thinking of. And then you need to be specific about what behaviors they do. And then also we need to feel our feelings about those things, but we need to be really specific about the behavior because boundaries are specific and they're promises to yourself. You see how I refuse to accept disrespect. Like there's no like you really need to make a promise to yourself about what you're going to do. So example that was shared earlier, I will not take calls in the AM. That's what Lizzie said her boundary was, and that was great. Because basically you're not telling other people like don't call me in the morning. You're not saying I refuse to accept calls from people in the morning. You're just saying like I don't accept calls in the morning. Like that's what I'm going to do. So if somebody calls me, I'm not going to answer. So it's all about what are you going to do. So I hope that's helpful. And then I know I had oh, I think I missed a few comments. Okay, gorgeous hearted. Any advice on being unhappy but still wanting community and not just isolating? You might be in the isolation stage of the spiritual journey, my dear. I don't know, obviously, because I don't know like where you're at and what your experience is currently. But but if you are in the stage, and I actually have been mapping this out. I actually recently have been building a little like map of the spiritual journey, so that people can start to identify where they're at, but I haven't released that yet or talked about it. It's not quite finished, but there is a period of time within the spiritual awakening process, within the healing journey, that is the isolation stage. And in the isolation stage, that is the time for you to start to reach out. It's a great time for you to start reaching out to other resources. You definitely should have at least one person that you're working with one-on-one, like a therapist, a coach, an energy healer, you know, Reiki teacher, psychic, whoever. I don't, at least one, if not two, three. Okay. And then looking for other more supportive communities that you're in. It's certainly important to start looking for other communities that are interested in the stuff that you're interested in, that maybe are sensitive in the way that you're sensitive. Like, go ahead and do those things. The thing about the isolation stage of the journey is that you will probably it will probably be somewhat challenging during that phase to like connect on a deep level with people, because you're still in this phase where like a lot of your identity is breaking down and you haven't like built it back up to a point where you're the new version of yourself, you're really confident in who you are, and then you're able to kind of engage in a reciprocal way with somebody new, to build a new relationship based on like really positive energy. So absolutely you should be finding new communities and reaching out to in new places to meet people. And it's okay if you don't feel really happy right now. That's fine too. Okay, so reviewer B said, if you don't tell others about your boundaries, you're setting up a problem for later. I disagree with that. I think that because so I always say like you can tell the other person, and I think a really important part of the journey is practicing using our voice to express those things. Um, but we don't always have to tell the other person. And in fact, we never have to, simply because boundaries are promises to ourselves. They're not rules for other people. It's not that we're saying like, this is a rule for you to follow when you're around me, or this is what you need to do. This is how you need to treat me. This is what needs to happen when I'm around. No, that's not a boundary. That's control. So we're not controlling anybody, so they don't actually need to know. Boundaries are all about what I'm going to do. So if somebody raises their voice at me, I'm going to leave. I can tell the person, I can ask them, hey, please don't raise your voice at me. But ultimately, I can't control their behavior. So the responsibility of respecting the boundary is only mine, to do what I promised myself to do, which is that I leave. But again, I do think it's an important part of the journey is expressing those things, because it's hard to express those things. It's uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's scary, and that is part of the journey to go through that. But then ultimately you realize like not everybody's really ready to hear that truth for you, so it isn't always necessary, but part of the journey is discerning when it is and when it isn't. Mm-hmm. Brian, every person is different, so I set the as we go along. If a woman came to me with list at star, I run. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but appreciate you sharing. What would trigger her to disrespect or vice versa? Brian, you might be commenting on things that I already said, and I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to at this point, since I've said a lot. D, I would not mirror a toxic dynamic ever again. You have to be more specific, D. A toxic dynamic, first of all, you're labeling something and you're basically saying this person was toxic and I mirrored their toxicity. Not exactly true. You also had unhealthy ways of behaving, and that was compatible with somebody else's unhealthy ways of behaving. But right now, to me, it still sounds like you're labeling the other person or the situation toxic. So instead, figure out what the specific thing is that you did that you want to do differently. See, that's how we empower ourselves. Is we decide what we're going to do differently. We don't wait for other people to change their behavior or for situations to change. We decide what we're going to do differently proactively. Hey, Rip Wheeler, good to see you, my dear. TTO saying no when you don't want to see your boyfriend. Yeah, that's totally fine. Exactly. Like sometimes when we just don't feel like having company or don't feel like engaging with people, it doesn't mean that we don't love them or want to be with them or see them. But sometimes it's just like, especially for introverts, and I'm an introvert, and there's definitely like days where I'm like, I don't want to see anyone. And I say no to going to places or doing things. Uh, sometimes if we're in that people pleasing energy, we might say yes to things that we don't actually want to do, and that's not really helpful. So yeah, saying no to things that we don't want to go to or that kind of thing is great. What other questions do you have, my dears? I'm noticing that this evening a lot of kind of of the labeling is coming up. So um maybe we'll do a little bit of feeling of feelings practice pretty soon so that we can feel some of that. All right, Rip Wheeler's human. When my elderly father is nasty, I do not offer him my presence when he is mean. Okay, so I love that. I would just say again, you're labeling things, so this actually does mean we have feelings to feel about your elderly father because you've used the word nasty and mean. And really, you know, I think we have to be a little bit more specific about these specific. See, here's the thing, like when we start to label the specific behaviors, we stop labeling them as like mean and nasty. Cuz right now saying somebody's mean and nasty, well, I do understand like from a human perspective, it's like yeah, of course, like when we know when somebody's being mean and nasty like from a human perspective, but my entire goal in coming on here and doing these lives and talking to you all is that I am offering support in the journey of becoming internally peaceful, having a peaceful experience of our lives. And we actually can't have a peaceful experience of our lives when we're labeling outward behaviors and um, people and experiences and things as something that is negative. So it's not about suppressing or ignoring the feelings that are coming up for us, because I could imagine that when your elderly father, let's say, um, he acts irritable or he criticizes or he yells, whatever it is. Do you see how I'm actually labeling the behavior, like what is the actual behavior? Because like that we already take some of the judgment out. It doesn't mean we take the hurt out, because what you're really describing is that it's I would imagine, because I think we've all had experiences where people have acted that way towards us and people that we love too. I imagine that there's actually hurt. Like that's hurtful when somebody that you love acts that way to you, when you're probably just trying to help and be kind because you want to show up as kind. So my whole point in saying this is that we start to take some of the judgment away of other people's behaviors and start to focus more on kind of from a very neutral standpoint, what's the behavior? You don't have to so starting from there, like let's say he makes critical comments or raises his voice, but those types of things are things that then we can look at in almost a neutral standpoint, like I don't want to be in the energy of those particular behaviors without saying he's mean and nasty, because then we put like the judgment into it. Do you see what I'm saying? And I'll do the feeling of feelings practice now because I think this is probably a good time since this has come up a few times this evening. Um, but that's what I want to say. And once we actually specifically say the behavior and take some of the judgment out, the judgment is only there because the feeling hasn't been resolved. The feeling underneath the judgment, which if the judgment is he's mean and nasty, the feeling is hurt. I'm hurt. So I label it mean and nasty because it hurts me. Really, that person is just acting out of their own woundedness. It's their own woundedness. And so for me, whenever somebody has that type of unhealthy behavior, I label it as woundedness. I say it's woundedness because there's nothing else that for me feels like it's going to allow me to still stay in my peace. Because at least in saying it's woundedness, it doesn't mean that I'm going to choose to be around it, but it does mean that even in choosing not to be around it, I can find some level of compassion for it because it's their own woundedness that they haven't healed. But I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on healing my woundedness. And my woundedness is the hurt that came from their behavior. So let's do that now. So I want everybody to take a deep breath and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. I want you to take your hand and put it on your heart, skin to skin, if you can. Hopefully you're sitting somewhere quiet. If you can sit up, that would be great. Just so that your back is straight, or lay down so that your back is straight. Take another breath in and out. Close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out through your mouth. Loosen your shoulders, let them fall. Loosen the area around your eyes so that you're not squinting, squishing your eyes shut. Loosen your forehead, let it fall. Loosen your jaw. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out slowly through your mouth. I want you to think of an experience right now that feels unresolved, feels like you have a lot of emotion wrapped up in it. That's something that's been on your mind, been bothering you. Or perhaps a specific person who you want to set a boundary with. Breathe in deep down into your chest and into your stomach. And breathe out. Now, say out loud, parts of me feel hurt. Because you can choose a different word if that doesn't feel right. You can choose scared or disappointed or sad or frustrated. But usually, even if all of those exist, there's usually still some hurt too. Parts of me feel hurt because I've tried to be really kind and this person still criticizes or raises their voice or is in a bad mood, and doesn't value kindness in the way that I do. Breathe in and breathe out. And then you're going to speak out loud and say, of course I feel hurt. Because, of course I feel hurt because as much as I feel upset and angry towards this person, I love them. And so parts of me feel really hurt because I just want to be able to love them. I want to be able to have a good relationship with them. I want to be able to feel happy and at peace around them. I want them to be able to see me and understand me and hear what I'm saying. I want to feel connected to them, and it hurts. I feel really hurt. It hurts so bad that I can't have that. And parts of me are scared that I never will. And of course, parts of me are scared. Because I don't know how much I can be around them if they're going to have those behaviors. And parts of me are scared I just won't want to see them. And that hurts because I love them. Take a breath, breathe out. And so continue to speak out your truth, whatever is coming up for you. I just gave you an example. I'll give you another minute to speak those out. Take a few more breaths in and breathe out slowly through your mouth. Again, let your facial muscles fall. Release the tension in your shoulders, in your chest, in your jaw, in your face, around your eyes. Just let yourself feel the heaviness and the weight of that hurt or that fear. And if some tears come to your eyes, let them. If you feel sad, allow it to just be there. Breathe in and breathe out. One more time, breathe in and breathe out. And when you're ready, you can come back. How did that feel? I know I missed some comments and I'll go back to them. What is your experience there with that practice? Rip Wheeler, thank you for the heart, my dear. And thank you for sharing your experience. It was a great example because I think a lot of people feel that way. And have hard feelings towards their family, in particular their parents. Please also like and share the live. Aurora, I have to keep reminding myself that I don't have to pick up or reply. Yes, and Aurora, if you are just here for this practice, it's okay to feel the fear in that journey. You're taking these steps that are very brave, and allow yourself to feel the weight of the fear that comes up in that, because it is scary. And what we just did, parts of me feel really scared. Of course, I feel scared. And so I say to you, of course you feel scared. Of course you feel scared. There's no other way that you could possibly feel. Yeah, sadness. Of course you feel sad. And I encourage you to do this practice with yourself and allow yourself to feel those things. Yeah, setting boundaries, it's not just like yeah, well, I don't accept this. This is why, like, whenever somebody says, like, I don't accept this behavior, it's like that's not exactly the energy we're going for. Really, what the goal is that we do this practice to feel our own feelings, to really truly acknowledge the sadness in this. Because when you're setting a boundary with someone, what it actually means is that they've been unable to meet you where you wanted to be met. They've been unable to behave in a way that makes you feel seen. And there is sadness in that. There is anger, but underneath the anger is a deep sadness and a deep hurt, which then asks us to love ourselves enough to set a boundary. And it's actually the order of operations, you could say. The order of operations is do the practice, feel our feelings, and then set the boundary. It's not set the boundary first, because if we set the boundary first, we're going to do it out of anger and resentment and hurt. When we feel our feelings first and we do the practice first, then we get back to a state of peace, even if it's a sad peace. Actually, when you come out of that practice and you just feel like, I just feel sad, that's exactly where you should be. That's exactly perfect. Because what that really means is now you're actually connecting in with your own deeper truth, with the hard truths of, like, I'm really sad. And that's a great place to just allow yourself to be and to continue to validate yourself. And Aurora, you're welcome for validating you, but you need to validate yourself. You need to learn the practice of validating yourself. And being sad is okay. And it's not just okay. It's There's no other way that you could possibly feel but sad. That's how much validation we're talking about. It's not like, oh, feeling sad is normal, feeling sad is okay. No, 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 no. There's no other way that you could possibly feel but sad. That's the kind of, like, unwavering, like, real um radical validation of ourselves and our experience that we're learning to do. Okay, I'm gonna go back to some comments. Okay. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, looks like I didn't really miss that much. Oh, what about TTO? What about someone going to your phone setting, boundaries on that? Like, going through your phone, you mean? And it really, I mean, that really depends on who this person is. Yeah, Brian, I hear you. on that. If somebody has a list of boundaries coming in, that, yeah, that's definitely not a healthy behavior. So I can understand what you're saying there. It should definitely be something that you, and by the way, boundaries, this is more for people that aren't going to be able to see, hear, and understand you. When you're in a healthy partnership, you and your partner should like want to make the effort to see, hear, and understand the other person. So you don't really need like strict boundaries. You can have agreements between each other about how you show up or how you maybe handled hard conversations, but that's not really the place where boundaries are gonna like thrive. It's really in like your familial relationships and um uh like coworkers, even friends. Staying in a conversation when I was getting yelled at. Yeah, that's a great place to have a boundary, D. If somebody is yelling at you, what are you gonna do? Okay. Um, Ellie, I think it says. Yeah, Ellie. Do you have the steps to do this practice on your website? I came on the end. Oh yeah, my dear. Actually in my profile, I have my YouTube link and the practice, all of my practices are there on YouTube. I have many of my past lives. I just started posting them on YouTube, so I think there's maybe like 6 or so past lives where I have the practice, as well as just the practice itself is on there, so you can take a look at that. That's all up and that's all free. Thank you for asking. Okay, my dears, I think I'm going to sign off here pretty soon, unless somebody else has any other questions. Please feel free to put them in the chat. You're welcome. I do come on Tuesdays usually. I'm thinking about maybe changing that to a different day of the week, but we'll see. Right now, it's Tuesdays. So I'll be back next week if you have any other questions that come up. Since I'm not seeing any other questions, I'm going to sign off and I'm sending you so much love and so much light for the week ahead. And you got this. Yes, exactly, Ellie. This is a great practice to get you back to focusing on what actually matters, which is the truth of how you're really feeling, and giving yourself the time and space to feel no matter what the feelings are that are coming up. And it also um I think there's two other benefits to it, which are that it allows you to take the focus off the other person. I think sometimes when we ruminate, we ruminate about what the other person is thinking or feeling, or about, whatever their experiences, or if we tend to have people pleasing behaviors, we like want to fix it, we want to make it better, we want to like tell them that we're sorry, or we want to whatever it is, we just want to fix it. And instead of fixing it, this practice really allows us to sit with the truth of like the hard parts of this journey, which are that a lot of moments feel scary and a lot of moments feel hurtful, and a lot of moments feel really, really sad. But definitely there's so much anxiety in the journey because you're doing scary things. So this practice gives you an outlet to really focus back on what is actually important and what is actually going to move you forward in a healthy, positive way, which is focusing on your own experience. And it's really only by focusing on your own experience, getting yourself back to a state of peace, that then you're going to be able to figure out what to do, if there is anything to do, to address the situation with the other person. Um, And then the other thing is that this practice really helps you to focus back on your breathing. The breathing is a really important part of the practice. That's why throughout the practice, I keep coming back to the breath, because the breath is your connection to the current present moment, and focusing on breathing in and breathing out slowly. It brings you back to a somatic place where you focus back on the thing that you do have control of in the moment, which is your breath. Betty, people can't have access now because they never learn now. I do it for my own good. I don't know exactly what you mean, my dear, um, but maybe think about how to do this practice because saying because they never learn is not really helpful to like judge people as they never learn. They learn in their own time, which might not be yours, but that just tells me you have some unhealed feelings to feel. What time do I come on Tuesdays? Oh, you're welcome, my dear, for teaching the practice. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time right now. Like I said, I might change that day. I probably won't change the time, at least right now. Might change the day, but we'll see. Right now, yeah, it's probably always going to be around 7:30 in the evenings, and right now it's on Tuesdays. And that is Eastern time in the US. All right, my dear, sending you so much love. I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here. Bye.